Hi everyone, welcome to 164 Diecast. Every Hot Wheels collector knows 1968 was the year Mattel introduced what would become a worldwide phenomenon in the diecast collecting world with the release of the original Sweet 16 Hot Wheels cars. The British toy company Lesney now had a serious threat to their monopoly on small 1/64 scale diecast cars and vehicles. In less than 30 years, Lesney would throw in the towel and sell their Matchbox line of diecast to Mattel. In the 1980s, another phenomenon would appear with the advent of the IBM personal computer. And in the 90s, the handheld cellular phone would burst on the scene. Two young Steves were forming a tiny little company in their garage in Cupertino, California. Silicon Valley was in its birth stage, and the iPhone and iPad were still over a decade away. But in the mid-90s, as Apple was growing into a powerhouse that would rival anything Mattel had done with its Hot Wheels and Barbie lines, Mattel was learning to adapt to changing times and technologies. Up to this point, if you wanted to buy a Hot Wheels car, you went to the supermarket, or department store, or a hobby shop, Target, Walmart, Kmart, and other retailers. Mattel made cars specifically branded for different retailers to boost sales and add an air of exclusivity. But you didn't log on and buy one. Not yet. Not until 1996, when Mattel released the very first collector-oriented multi-car set called Legends, Custom Rods, Boyd Coddington. This four-car set represented a couple of firsts. It was the first online-only set of cars by Mattel. This set released in 1996, then a second set called Legends, 40th Anniversary of Signature 57s, in 1997. At first, Mattel didn't know how these sets would be received, but both were sold out almost immediately, and the company went on to create two more sets per year in both 1998 and 1999. The vehicles in these sets were of a much higher quality and level of detail than the mainline cars and sets. The Legends series became the 100% Hot Wheels line, which are available at the more traditional brick-and-mortar stores. HotWheelsCollectors.com, HWC.com, was the conduit for purchasing vehicles online. HWC.com became the Redline Club in the early 2000s and would eventually add an offshoot called Mattel Creations for high-end products. Mattel Creations would offer other Mattel products such as the Barbie line as well. The other first, represented by this Legends Boyd Coddington set, is the Vern Luce Coupe, featured as one of the cars in the set. The Vern Luce Coupe was Boyd Coddington's first custom car, and it won several awards. Boyd Coddington was an American hot rod designer and star of the television show American Hot Rod. He has designed hot rods and custom cars for several high-profile clients, including the Cadzilla for Billy Gibbons, the frontman for rock and roll band ZZ Top. Boyd's signature style combined elements of the old-school hot rods with a modern, elegant look. His designs won the prestigious America's Most Beautiful Roadster, or AMBER Award, 7 times. And many famous fabricators and designers got their start working for Boyd, including Jesse James and Chip Foose. Boyd Coddington passed away in February of 2008. Coddington was a machinist at Disneyland working the night shift, creating parts and fixing things at the park. It was the perfect training for what he loved doing during the day at his home in Cypress, California, creating hot rods. He eventually left Disneyland to devote working full-time on customizing cars. When he couldn't find the wheels he wanted for one of his designs, he used his machining talents to create his own wheels. He used billet aluminum, and a new style of wheel was created. His shop, Hot Rods by Boyd, was located in Stanton, California. His first major customer was Vern Luce, whose car, a 1933 coupe, won the Al Sloniker Award at the 1981 Oakland Roadster Show. The vehicles included in this set represent some of his greatest work, and they are the red Vern Luce Coupe, Mattel product number 15798. This casting was used 5 times before it was discontinued. The yellow Smoothster, Mattel product number 15329. The first release of the casting replicated the real-life version, while the next 2 paint schemes were created by Hot Wheels. The Hot Wheels version was discontinued after only 3 releases. The dark purple Cadzilla, Mattel product number 15586. This diecast shows the very beautiful custom Cadzilla, conceived by Jack Chisenhall and designed by Chisenhall and Larry Erickson. It was based on a 1948 Cadillac Series 62 sedanette. And the teal Shazoom, Mattel product number 15328. It is based on a real-life, customized 1957 Chevy, designed by Tom Taylor at Boyd Coddington's custom shop. It was made for drag racer Joe Rudka, who is the founder and CEO of Mr. Gasket Performance Parts. While each car in the set has its own product number, the set is generally referred to by the product number for the display case in which all 4 cars are placed when fully assembled, and that product number is 16609. Each car and the display case were shipped separately in their own box. The cars were placed in Styrofoam to protect them. You can find additional information about this set and about Boyd Coddington at these websites. I hope you enjoyed this look at the very first online collector set produced by Mattel. And, as always, thank you for stopping by 164 Diecast. And we will see you on the next video.